What's going on, Aces? Welcome back to the channel. I hope that all of you had an amazing first week of January. Yes, the first week of the year. We got through it. It has been nonstop foolishness and tomfoolery, but that's what we're here for. So the Love of Marriage Huntsville reunion aired last night, and everybody looked really good. I would have to say my favorite look of the night would go to Kimmi when she came out to meet Carlos. Maurice wasn't paying attention, stepped on her dress, and Carlos didn't miss a beat. He was like, can you, for once in your life, have Kimmi's back? And of course, Maurice, being, the man that he is, I don't know if they planned it beforehand or what. I don't think so. But of course, he had to make it into an inappropriate joke. And she hit him, she's like, you're starting off already on a bad foot. Like, you need to sit down. So that kicked it off. I will say I did like, how Carlos goes around at the beginning and greets everybody. I'm sure he learned that back on his days working for Bravo and Real Housewives of Atlanta. But just, making sure everybody is cool. He went back to meet Marcel and Tisha, and of course they had on the boxing robes. Tisha came out swinging this year. I don't know, but she really was coming for pretty much everybody this reunion. So, they kick off, and I will have to say the looks that I like the least, unfortunately, go to Courtney and Stormi and Tisha, because that pink, it was giving, Pepto-Bismol. Sorry, I like Stormi and Courtney, but the pink satin, it wasn't doing it for me. And Tisha, that lime green with that rib cage out, yeah, I really need for them to maybe invest in a stylist. I don't know. I've never really enjoyed a look from Tisha. In this season, she just came off really, it goes beyond being assertive. Maybe it borders on a line of being arrogant. And the reason why I say that is because Kimmi was offering, to give her feedback. Tisha had a chip on her shoulder saying that, she really didn't feel like anybody was being supportive of the Black Business Expo. And, Mel jumped in and she's like, well, I told you, congratulations. She actually gave them the idea for the sponsorships because they weren't even thinking about sponsorships before Melody brought it up to them. But they weren't willing to pay anybody. Nell Fletcher said that she thinks that they kept a good portion of that money for themselves, which I do too. They're being way too secretive about it. But it was her first year. And so, Kimmi and the rest of the group, the comeback group, was trying to offer them feedback, but Tisha's like, well, I don't need any feedback. Who doesn't need feedback? If you're an author or writer, the first thing that you want to do is to have somebody read over your work, to proofread, get a good editor and give you feedback so that you can improve. You can, improvise and revise, right? Revision is the key to improvement, to perfection. And for her to say out the gate that she didn't feel like she needed feedback, but at the same time, she didn't want any kind of criticism. She's like, well, this is our first year doing it. Okay, well, you can't pick and choose, just like with the website, right? She said she hired somebody, to do their website. And Carlos was like, well, if that was me, I would have had them put it on their page that I made the mistake of using, Stormi's business, Canvas Beauty, as the contact information. And Tisha got really defensive about that. She was just really defensive this whole, reunion, very combative. But moving right along to to Melody and Martell. One thing I can say about Martell, he definitely looks good in the suit. Carlos complimented him. He does have a nice physique, but he was telling us a little bit too much about his physique, because Carlos touched on the fact that Mel said that she had never reached the big O during all their years that they were married. And, Martell was really defensive, and he's like, well, that's a lie. I have a hook and a curve and this and that. And I'm like, okay, we didn't need to know all that. But listen, Melody said what she said, and that was her experience. You guys did create 4 beautiful children together. So just, take it for what it's worth. Because every single time Melody said, something, Martell was there to jump in to try to overtalk her, correct her. He's still extremely bothered by the fact that they're divorced all these years later. He wants her back. We all know it. And it's just sad to see him constantly try to convince himself and everybody else otherwise, because, yeah, it's not working, sir. I would suggest him to move on. And speaking of moving on, Carlos, dismissed the men and had the women there, the ladies, with the exception of Marcel. Just poking fun at the fact that Stormy called him the biggest B. And, he took it in stride. I have to give him that. But for him to say that he didn't respect, Melody's t-shirt business, or all that she does is sell t-shirts, which of course isn't true, right? She has a whole chemist and a whole skincare line that does very well, but she sells other clothing as well other than t-shirts. But she brought him a shirt that says, I just sell t-shirts, and kind of tossed it to him. And he was like, she's being real shady with the 2X. Marcel, sir, you're not that small. I would think that 2X isn't too far off. He did say that he wanted Martell to help him get in shape, and in turn, he would help Martell pass that business exam, which I don't know where, they are with that. But anyway, that was funny. And they touched on, Maurice and Kimmi. So Carlos was asking Kimmi about just the whole situation where Maurice said that she had to roll over and suffer through it, and that he was really diminishing her, not only her feelings, I would just say her medical expertise. Like, you married a nurse, right? Not only, and even if she didn't have a nursing license, you should listen to your wife because she's a woman and she knows her body. But him saying that, it was mental, and Kimmi coming back saying no, it's a side effect. A lowered libido is a side effect of the medication in regards to chemotherapy. But even if that wasn't a side effect, you know what I mean? Like, even if she was perfectly healthy, if she tells you, I have a headache, I don't feel like it, my stomach hurts, I don't feel good, you should honor that. You should respect that. Maurice is not only really immature, in my opinion, because I know he's going after some bloggers because they're saying things that he doesn't like. He just seems very selfish. I mean, I'm trying to think of a different word and I can't. He puts his own, carnal desires first. He is someone who just doesn't seem to honor his son in that relationship. He doesn't honor Kimmi when she says she's not feeling well. He just comes across as a really selfish individual. It's unfortunate, but Kimmi, I mean, if they like it, I love it. The reunion ends with them showing next week where Keke's gonna come on. And oh wait, before I move on from Martell and Melody, let me back up a little bit. One thing that stuck out was the fact that Mel brought up the fact that in the paperwork, when they're going back to court, Martell put in the paperwork that the relationship with Sheree Whitfield was a business arrangement. And he's like, well, no, that's a lie. That's a lie. Okay. Well, if Melody says that it's in the paperwork, that's very specific for her to, just conjure that up out of thin air. And I'm sure that she could easily post it on her Instagram. She has a lot of followers. That's how she does business. Yeah, I would just take that L quietly. If it were me, right? I wouldn't take my ex-spouse to court in the first place, but that's Martell. He is a narcissist, in my opinion. He has a very grandiose ego and sense of self. It's frail, but it's exaggerated, and so I don't think that Melody's making up the fact that he said he had a business arrangement with Sheree Whitfield. And Sheree, I really want her to choose uh, better, to do better, to choose wisely for a future partner, because the men that we've seen, whether it's been Bob, Tyrone, or now Martell, with their quote unquote business arrangement, it's been lackluster. But anyway, moving on. So, part one ends, they give us a teaser of Keke coming out, and, they're talking about her and Tisha going back and forth, and they're talking about Keke and her marriage, whether it's an open marriage or not, whether they had infidelity or not. Keke, she is someone who, I have to say, she's honest to a fault, right? She has no filter. She's like, yes, and what, and I'm like, okay, Keke. I mean, she could have just said that's none of your business, or that's between my husband and I, what we do, what we choose to do in our relationship. But no, that's not Keke. Between her, she's more like Wanda, I think, than Tisha is. I think Wanda probably got in Tisha's ear and said, you need to be a little bit more aggressive. But that's just my opinion. Keke reminds me a lot of her auntie in a lot of ways, whether she sees that or not. But I want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on this first part reunion? Please be sure to drop down in the comments. Let me know. Also, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I will talk to you later. Take care, Aces. Bye.